Violence against women and girls remains the most pervasive human rights violation in the world, affecting more than 1 in 3 women, a figure that has remained largely unchanged over the last decade. Global emergencies, crises, and conflict have further intensified violence against women and girls and exacerbated the drivers and risk factors. Climate change is aggravating all types of gender-based violence against women and girls, an already visible pattern that will undoubtedly grow more extreme as the crisis worsens. Rapidly expanding digitalization is increasing online violence against women and girls, compounding existing forms of violence and leading to the emergence of new ones. There has been a rise in anti-rights movements and anti-feminist groups, driving an expansion of regressive laws and policies, a backlash against women's rights organizations, and a spike in attacks against women human rights defenders and activists. Violence against women is pervasive, but it's not inevitable, unless we stay silent. In the face of rising anti-feminist movements, taboos around gender-based violence provide perpetrators with impunity and prevent women and girls from getting the help they need. Less than 40% of women who experience violence seek any sort of help. For Inerela Plus, it is crucial to speak up and out. Toxic masculinity drives violence against women. Traditional concepts of masculinity tend to emphasize traits like aggression, strength, and control, while disparaging sensitivity, empathy, vulnerability, and other traits traditionally associated with femininity. Inerela Plus supports men and boys in your life to embrace caretaking, emotional expression, and other traditionally non-masculine traits. Services for women and girls experiencing violence can be the difference between life and death. Inerela Plus collaborates with shelters, hotlines, whilst Inerela Plus religious leaders provide counseling and psycho-social support for survivors of gender-based violence during crises and emergencies. The world needs stronger protection mechanisms to prevent and eliminate violence, harassment, threats, intimidation, and discrimination against women human rights defenders and women's rights advocates and activists. Inerela Plus religious leaders and change agents call on the government to strengthen legal frameworks and raise awareness about gaps. During COVID-19, women were vastly underrepresented on recovery task forces, a disparity reflected in the insufficiency of government responses to gender-specific issues like heightened domestic violence. The same is true for climate action, peace building, and a whole host of other issues. When women aren't at the table, their voices aren't being heard. That makes it easy for decision-making bodies to overlook crucial gaps in the policies and financing. Inerela Plus pushes for women's increased representation in leadership and for heightened protections for women in positions of power. Violence against women and girls is inherently connected to other forms of harm and injustice, including racism, homophobia, xenophobia, poverty, and climate change. Inerela Plus strengthens the fight against gender-based violence by getting involved in other social movements and getting activists from those movements involved in ours. We're stronger when we work together.